Anyway, welcome to this video by BybbleGaff, and what I'm talking about in the video is the kind of tools, the equipment that I use when I'm making things out of, well, all sorts of materials, not just BybbleGaff. You know, the cutting, the marking out, etc. There's no actual design or making of anything in this. This is purely about what I use. And we can start here. This is a cutting board. Wow, people will be shocked at that. It's really just a thick rubber mat, and the mat is there only to protect the top of the work surface, and in this case it's a table. I wouldn't like to get into trouble having massive score lines across it, but it also, one of the other things that it does is as you're cutting down into it, it actually penetrates slightly into the top of the rubber, which gives you a clean cut. If you use something really hard along the top, it tends to skip. This one was from Hobbycraft. Yep, it's not the biggest one. I think it's like a medium-sized one, and it cost me, I think, £12, but it should last for quite a long time, and it saves, like I say, your surface being damaged. I mean, you can use other stuff. In the past, I've used an offcut of a kitchen top. I've even used a cutting board, which was quite good actually, because that did penetrate quite well, and gave you some nice clean cuts. So yeah, a cutting board essential not only for making decent straight cuts, but also so you don't get in trouble if you damage anything. A good pair of scissors, a comfortable pair of scissors. I don't have the biggest hands in the world, and these fit really nice. I mean, they're from the kitchen collection at Sainsbury's. I think I paid £4 for them. They a good mark of a decent pair of scissors is a screw head, which normally means you can unscrew it and then have it sharpened. But to be honest, for the price and how long this has lasted, I've cut hundreds of pieces of all sorts of materials with this. Some of it was a bit tougher than others, but it got through them, and nice clean edges. And also with scissors, what I find is how tight you can feel it almost slightly scraping against each blade, and that means that if you look directly down, there's no gap in between, so that when you're cutting it's not going off at an angle. Sounds like a lot to say about a pair of scissors, but if you want some nice quality edges that cut really easy and you're not double cutting to try and get through, sharp and comfortable, soft grip. This has got a sort of like an inside soft grip, which is really nice. So yeah, a good pair of scissors, not going to cost you the earth, make a decent job. This is my workhorse of a knife. I could do with some more blades actually, but I've had this for maybe about 5 years. I can't remember how much it cost. It wasn't a lot of money. I've lost the head off the top, which you use for breaking the blades off. I just use a pair of pliers now. But something like this, I've tried the scalpel hobby version. It wasn't, my hands won't grip it hard enough to get a decent amount of pressure on it. Something that's got, you know, a bit of bulk about it is a lot easier to use. It's not the lightest piece of equipment, but you can feel it. You can feel you're getting a good cut through it. And like I say, it's cheap because these blades, lots of companies make them, and this one in particular is a standard size which you can buy for this type of, I think they call them a box knife, I'm not sure, it might even just be a general purpose knife, and being able to just break off the edges and get a nice clean sharp cut, rather than having to stick a new blade in, undo it, stick a new blade in, etc. It is very helpful, and it's safe as well. Click it away, you're not going to get cut, kids aren't going to get cut, it's not going to fall off the table and go through granny's foot. And like I say, I don't think I paid a lot for it, and it's I've been using I use it all the time. I really do love it, as much as you can love a knife, obviously. But yeah, get yourself a decent knife like this, and your cutting problems are over. The next thing I want to talk about is a compass. Woohoo, compasses. We all had them at school. Pain in the butt, getting stabbed by your friends with it. But I do use this, obviously to draw circles, but sometimes also to measure things and create angles. But the main thing about this compass, you can buy hundreds of different types. I mean, this one came in a set that I bought from I think WH Smith's. It could have been Hobbycraft, I'm not sure. It wasn't cheap, it was about £8–9. I don't think I'll ever need to buy another compass again. It's really well solidly made, it's metal, but like I said, there was a specific reason why I got this particular compass, and it's this. I don't know if you can see that, but I tried it with a pencil. Pencils just, you cannot score the top of the material. I'll show you. You cannot get the pencil line. I mean, you might be able to, and maybe the pencil that I had was a bit too hard, but I just couldn't get it to score dark enough for me to see to cut round it. So what I thought was, I'll find something that I can put a standard, well, this is a permanent marker, and this was the best one I could find at the time. And as you can see, if you want a decent line to be able to cut round, this works really well. And there you got a nice circle. Don't forget to take your pen out afterwards and put the top on, otherwise you'll have marks all over your hand for well, days. Yep, so the compass, although it's not used for that many things, I mean, I tend to measure off things like cans and bottles because they're tapered, and it's difficult to actually draw around it without it all the way around, without it actually zigzagging in and out. And I tend to try and get things accurate. It looks neater in the end, it looks better, and that's really what I am trying to achieve with the recycled materials, is to make people see things that look good, but in fact it's been recycled. So a decent compass, and as I said before, try and find one big enough to fit a pen into, and away you go. A ruler, a decent metal ruler with a good straight edge, nice and smooth. Now this one I probably had about 5–6 years. I paid a couple of pounds for it, and I've used it that much that I've worn the numbers off it. So I tend to use the squares to measure up, or I have another ruler that's got a better contrast. It's white and black rather than being silver, if I'm struggling to see the sizes. But for me, this has been my go-to straight edge for cutting the BybbleGaff, and well, all sorts of materials. I mean, it's not just the BybbleGaff. The good thing about a decent straight edge and a solid metal ruler is that when you go to cut something, if you use a wooden one or a plastic one, the chances are that as you're trying to put a bit of stress on it, and like I've said before, this material, it's not rock solid, but it is quite tough, and it has a toughness to it, especially as you're cutting across the grain rather than down it. And having a decent ruler where you can put plenty of pressure on and get a really nice cut through makes a big difference. Getting a good square edge with a sharp knife. So yeah, a good square edge, a good steel square edge ruler. Don't worry about the lines going. You can use another ruler to do the actual measurements. So that's what I use to cut the straight edges. A set square. These are quite cheap as well, and be careful with them because they break really easily. I think I paid like $1.99 for probably Hobbycraft for these. Obviously a larger one, but it doesn't have any measurement on one edge, which is a bit of a shame, to be honest, but I use it to measure because you can see underneath it. It's clear. So if I'm looking at two edges and one of them's under there and I need to see where this one is and make sure I can line it up, I tend to use the set square because it's clear. Obviously you can use a clear ruler, but this is vital if you want to get decent square edges. You know, you cut across and then, well, even draw it first before you cut it. Draw it, you've got a nice square edge, and then of course set it up to that edge and then square it again. Trying to guess it using your ruler or a straight edge for both sides is difficult, and you don't really want things that are butting up at an angle. It doesn't look neat, and if it's relying on its squareness for strength, then you know all you're going to be doing is putting more gaffer tape on and making it look ugly just to get that strength back. So a decent set square, not too expensive, make a big difference in the look, and definitely make it easier for you to make some decent edges and square things up. And last but not least, these little things, these little jokers, they're just tiny little clips that you can, I think they're called Bulldog clips. You can buy them in packs. I think they're about 10 or 15 pence a piece. I use them for fiddly jobs. If I'm trying to square, say I want to square that edge up and I want to get it in line, and I'm struggling to be able to grab the tape and get it on while it's moving around, what I tend to use is a square one corner up, stick on a clip, square the other corner up, so it's nice and in line. Just pull the clip down a bit, there you go, and then you can just jock it around a bit just to make sure it's absolutely perfect. Grab whatever the tape is you're trying to use, and there you go. It's nice and square, pennies, saves you a heck of a lot of time. Got a nice tough seal. It's great stuff, isn't it? Anyway, thanks for watching the video. I'll be doing more videos about what I've made and how I make it. If you enjoyed it, you found it, well, I don't know about enjoy, But if you found it interesting, please give it a like, and look back at my channel for some more YouTube videos on making things with gaffer tape.